Section E, Essay Type 2. And just 3 questions. Good. But there will be multiple parts. Michael Hansen is an internal auditor who has been asked to evaluate the internal controls and risks of his company. Consolidated Enterprises Incorporated, this is the name of the company. He has been asked to present recommendations to senior management with respect to Consolidated's general operations, with particular attention to the company's database procedures, IT related. This essay type is related to some IT controls. With regard to database procedures, he was specifically directed to focus attention on, first, transaction processing, virus protection, backup controls, and disaster recovery controls. These are the 4 specific areas he has been asked to pay specific attention. Question number 1. For each of the areas shown below, identify 2 controls that Hansen should review and explain why. Transaction processing, some controls over transaction processing. Virus protection. So you can see these are subparts to it. You will write A, B, and C within this place. This is the exact simulation you will have on your CMA essay type section. Okay, starting first with the transaction processing. Transaction processing might include access limits. Who is the one who is allowed to access the systems? Access limited. Limit access to input. Who is the one who will enter the data? Who is the one, or who are the group of individuals who will authorize change? Limited access to input. Limited access to change in data. You have to have segregated duty. Operator will only enter the data. Programmer will modify the program on a standalone system. Data control group is responsible for modifying the erroneous data, the data that has been processed incorrectly. That has to be defined specifically. Then virus protection. Virus protection means on our systems, on our servers, we should have the latest edition of good antivirus software. And that is regularly updated because virus definitions, they keep on changing. Newer and newer versions of deadly viruses, they keep on emerging. So the antivirus software must be the latest one and the one that is regularly updated. Your physical systems must be protected through an intrusion detection system, through firewall, so that unauthorized access could be avoided. Access to public sites domain must be restricted. Otherwise, individuals might download certain unauthorized software that might contain some virus. Firewalls, access to internet. You can disable your USB port so that the individuals may not plug the infected USBs, flash drives with the computers. Many firms have disabled their USB ports so as not to allow individuals to copy data or to take data or put some infected data in the system. This is the second part. Then backup control. Backup control means that a company should have a specific policy related to if any disaster occurs. What is the plan we have? What's the recovery plan? Disaster recovery plan. Where do we back up our data? Do we have hot site, cold site, warm site? So it's very vital for the system to be continuing in a disaster. We should have an alternative processing facility. Right? So backup controls include identification of what system do we need to back up, where do we need to back up. We need to have a disaster recovery plan that should be regularly tested. Right? So around these lines you can give your responses. Do not overdo, just specifically what is needed, and within this much is sufficient to answer all the parts. Identify 4 components of sound in disaster recovery plan. 4. Let us discuss all these. There are a total of 7 steps or 7 components of a disaster recovery plan. First one is to establish priorities for recovery process. What is the system, part of the system that is core or so essential that without it, it will be hard for the business to function. Identification of the software and hardware needed for critical processes. In case of a disaster, we need to have it available on our warm site or our hot site. Identify all the data files and programs that are required for recovery, the critical data, the core data that is needed, core programs, core systems, core data, that's what you need to make the system functioning. Remember, your backup must be put at offsite storage, somewhere like, for example, if your processing facilities are in New York, then your offsite location might be somewhere in New Jersey maybe. Offsite. The facilities must be offsite, that if there's any natural disaster in this city, your data is stored somewhere else that will be saved. Identify who has the responsibility for various activities and which activities are needed first. Who should be informed and what is to be done first. Set up and check the arrangement for backup facilities. And finally, test and review recovery plan that our recovery plan is robust. Will it help us in case if there is a disaster? So we just need to give 4, but this is the total flow of activities that are essential. So you just need to go to them. Now, see, so apparently there were just 3 questions, but they had many parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is how he can play with you. Apparently there are just 3 questions, but there are many subparts to each question. So during his evaluation of journal operations, Hansen found the following conditions. 1. Daily bank deposits do not always correspond with the cash receipts. Means, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong. Means sometimes the banks show less balance and it doesn't reconcile with the cash balance. And most of the time it does. So daily bank deposits do not always correspond with the cash receipt. It doesn't mean there is a fraud or someone is stealing the money. But why is the reason why? We should not always suspect that something is wrong, but as an auditor, because if you remember, we are an auditor in this situation here. Internal auditor. Right? So we should not always assume that the fraud exists, but we should view things with a questioning mind. With a questioning mind. Not all we should suspect something is wrong, but we should view things with a questioning mind. We should not assume there is a fraud always. So bank deposits do not always correspond with the cash receipts. For each of these conditions, describe the possible causes of the condition and recommendation to be taken in order to remove this problem. So the first problem we have is that the cash deposit doesn't match with the bank statements. Daily bank deposits do not always correspond with the cash receipts. Why is it so? The cause. What is the cause? Maybe we receive cash after the bank deposits. Cash is received maybe after the bank closing hours. So cash is held in hand. So received is more. We received $10,000. But in the bank, we could only deposit $9,000 because the extra $1,000 was received after the banking hours. This is the cause. How we can rectify this? We should have a separate individual. Maybe someone is stealing. We should have a separate individual who reconciles the bank statement with the cash book. This will ensure that if there is undeposited cash, if someone is stealing, it will be identified, and we must ensure a policy that any cash received, many banks in the US, even in Pakistan, they allow after banking hours deposit facility also. That's called night banking. So we can arrange some arrangement like this, or maybe in some banks they offer the riders facility. They send their individuals to your place and he gives you the deposit slip even at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening. Such an arrangement can be made so as to ensure that the money doesn't, cash in hand should be in a limited quantity. Surplus cash should be away somewhere else with the banker or with some in the closed locker. So that is essential, that the cash received on daily basis must be accounted for in the night, late night banking, or with some locked coffers or some other arrangement like this. Because surplus cash in hand is always a kind of risk factor, that it is, because cash is highly desirable item. So we want to make sure that it is kept at a minimum level. Next, physical inventory counts sometimes differs with the perpetual inventory. Physical count of your inventory is different than the records of your inventory. Why? Doesn't mean there's a fraud. The cause is that there might be some timing difference. Some items have been received, but the records have not been updated. So the cause could be the timing difference. So how we can rectify this error, this problem? We can impose a policy that there must be a regular reconciliation, just like between bank statement and cash book. There should be regular reconciliation, weekly reconciliation between your physical inventory and the perpetual records. Any discrepancy must be investigated and must be identified. Why was there a difference? So the action we can take is the regular comparison and reconciliation between your physical inventory and any identification of any anomaly must be investigated and sorted out. Last, unexplained and unexpected decrease in gross profit percentage has occurred. We have 4 or 5 facilities, and gross profit percentage across these facilities is around 50%, 52%, 49%. If a certain part of your organization, certain segment is showing a very little gross profit, that's a cause of concern. What are the determinants of gross profit? Gross profit is determined by a difference between sales versus cost of sales. So there could be problem with sales. Either there are discounts being offered or credits being offered. Problem could be either with sales, or there might be some problem that some stock is being stolen away. It is booked, but eventually it's not sold, it's not reflected in CGS. Resultantly, there are less gross margins, right? So these are the cause and effects. Don't overdo. Just a couple of lines on each cause and effect, as long as you can explain what is being asked, is sufficient. So that's all for your essay 2.